Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the top books that I am most excited for to be released in 2020. So for all you stats nerds like me out there, I have 1 middle grade, 6 YAs, and 5 adults. And if you're more interested in the genre, I have 4 thrillers or mysteries, 1 literary fiction, 5 fantasies, and 2 science fictions. I know, who am I? Sci-fi? Another thing I think is really interesting for my little list here is that 9 of the 12 books that I'm going to be talking about all come out in the first 4 months of the year. That means that there's only, math, Lindsay, three books that come out in the second half of the year that I'm excited for. It's really interesting. It makes me wonder if being a spring release is more like prestigious than a fall release. But anyways, I have divvied these up into release dates, so let's go ahead and jump right in. The first one I'm going to talk about is one that actually doesn't have a release date yet, and that is Ruth Ware's next book, which is currently untitled. I have absolutely no information to give you about this book because none has been released other than the fact that it's coming out in 2020. While some of Ruth Ware's mysteries aren't the best, I absolutely adore her writing style. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. It's such a close POV to the main character. Like, you kind of as a person disappear when you read her books and become her main character, and the voice is so good. There's just such a good spooky, suspenseful tone and atmosphere that I love her writing so much that I don't even care if the mystery isn't the best. But I will say her last 2 mysteries have been really, really great. The Death of Mrs. Westaway is my favorite of hers. I gave it like 5 out of 5 stars. And then her very last one, The Turn of the Key, was good. I think it's very well written, but I didn't like the trope that they employed at the very end. It's like one of my least favorite tropes. So overall, just a really, really good book. And she's an author that I'm really excited to keep up with. Coming out on January 7th, the next book is One of Us is Next. This is the sequel to One of Us is Lying, which I'm sure you've heard about. It has been on the New York Times bestseller list for 100 weeks now. I think Netflix picked it up or someone picked it up. It's going to be like a movie or a TV show. It's kind of a big deal. If you're in the YA contemporary thriller sphere, you probably know what it is. But it follows 4 teens. It's kind of like The Breakfast Club meets Clue, where everyone is a suspect and obviously someone is lying when 5 kids are in a detention and one of them dies. I am excited for this, but I am a little hesitant because I don't really know if the book needed a sequel. At the same time, I'm willing to give it a shot because I really just enjoy Karen's writing style. Like, she writes teen characters so well that I'm really excited to see what she has next. And coming out January 21st is The Hand on the Wall, which is the 3rd and final book in the Truly Devious mystery series. I read Truly Devious in February and absolutely fell in love with it. I ate this book up in I think like 2 sittings. I have the sequel on my TBR shelf right here and I haven't gotten to it specifically just because I want to binge read this. In a couple weeks I'm gonna reread Truly Devious, and then I'm gonna read this, and then I'm gonna read The Hand on the Wall, and it's just gonna be amazing. This is a boarding school story following a bunch of super smart kids that all get to go to this prestigious school because they are masters in some kind of craft. Our main character Stevie is a master in crime, so she has gone to this school not only because she's amazing and she got in, but because there is a murder or a kidnapping, some sort of mystery that happened at the school like 70 years prior that went unsolved, and she is determined to solve it. Moving on to February. On February 4th, we have The King of Crows, which is the final conclusion, the 4th book in the Diviners Quartet. This again is a YA fantasy set in the 1920s that is absolutely so atmospheric and so fantastic. Libba Bray just writes in a way that is like a step above like just about anyone else. She's one of my favorite authors, like, not to be like biased, but she's just so talented. She fills her work with so much depth and so much commentary, and her prose are just beautiful in a way that is just transcendent. Okay, I'm going there. But this book follows a bunch of teenagers in the 1920s that all have magical powers, and there's kind of like dark forces that are out to get them. And that's a really bad synopsis, but it's just really good. And if you like YA fantasy, you should pick it up. Coming out on February 6th is Hollowpox, The Search for Morgan Crowe. I don't have the book with me because I'm currently reading it and it's in the other room, but it is the 3rd book in the Morgan Crowe or Nevermore series. This is the 2nd book. I'm a mess. Don't judge me. But the first book in the series follows Morgan Crowe, a girl born on the unluckiest day of the year, deemed to die on her 12th birthday, but then a mysterious figure i.e. Ginger Dumbledore, shows up and whisks her off to this magical land where she gets to compete to enter into this secret society. And it's wonderful and magical, and a lot of people compare it to Harry Potter, and I understand why, because it is so whimsical and so magical. Very different in a lot of ways, but similar in that vibe. I really like the series. I think I'm currently reading the second one, the Wondersmith book, and I think I'm going to be rating that one even higher than I rated Nevermore, which I gave 4 stars. I'm really just enjoying it. It's so happy, it's so fun and light and refreshing that I can't wait for the next book in the series to come out. The next book comes out on February 11th, and it is called Dead to Her by Sarah Pinborough. Now, I know very little about this other than it is a domestic thriller with marital drama. I really enjoy Sarah Pinborough's writing. I actually have, let's see, this book, Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I did not like the twist that was employed in the end of this book, but if it wasn't for that, this probably would have been one of the best thrillers I have read in my life. It is so well constructed. It just like puts hooks in you, and you have to keep turning the pages until you get to the very end. I loved all of the terrible, flawed, horrid characters in here. It was just such a fun ride, and I've never forgotten this book since I read it. So I really want to check out her newest read, and I don't want to know much about it. I just want to go straight into it. Our next book comes out on March 24th, and that is The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. Emily St. John Mandel is one of my new auto-buy authors. She wrote the Station 11 book that I recently read this year, and it has definitely become one of my favorites. I put this off for so long because I knew it was going to be a 5-star read, and it was beautiful. It was breathtaking. Emily St. John Mandel writes these literary fictions that have a little bit of a speculative twist, and from what I understand about her next book, it's kind of the same way. It has to do with a hotel, I believe, that is passed down like multiple generations. There might be some kind of ghost haunting, or it has something to do with ghosts, and it has to do, again, just like with Station 11, where it has intersecting character lines that don't seem like, you don't know how they're connected until it all kind of like weaves together in the end. She just did it so beautifully in this book that I can't wait to see what she does with her next one. Moving on to April 5th, we have Aurora Burning, which is the second book in J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman's YA sci-fi. I think it's a trilogy, but it's coming out next. Amy Kaufman and J. Kristoff wrote the Illuminae series, which I think everyone pretty much just widely loves. It was really great, and we all know, okay, we all know, it's no secret that I am obsessed with J. Kristoff now after reading Nevernight, which I cannot reach, but it is amazing. It's my favorite series of the year. One of the books in that series is my favorite book of the year. It was just wonderful, and I feel like I will now pick up anything that J. Kristoff writes because of that. So I picked up Aurora Rising because, as some of you may know, I did make myself this challenge where I was going to read 5 books in 9 different age categories or genres this year, and I really needed to get some more YA sci-fi. So I picked up Aurora Rising, scared because a lot of people weren't that big on it, but I picked it up anyways, and I was pleasantly surprised. I understand why people were a little about it, because it really does just throw you into the action. But after reading so many adult fantasies back to back, I was like okay with it, because that's what a lot of adult fantasies do. So I understand the critique, but I really enjoyed it. I think if you just give it like 30% of the way through the novel or the audiobook and just go along with the ride, you might have a good time. And this is the first YA romance that I have shipped so strongly in a long time. And the main dude on the cover, yeah, he's a fave. He's like a salty Legolas. Next, coming out on April 19th, we have The Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds, which is the next book, a prequel book by Suzanne Collins, who wrote The Hunger Games. I was equally shocked and excited and hesitant when it was announced that Suzanne Collins was writing another book in the Hunger Games world, because I think that the trilogy is perfect on its own, and a lot of times I don't need more, and sometimes more is worse, i.e. The Cursed Child. But I trust Suzanne Collins. I have liked everything that she's written, from her YA stuff to her middle grade stuff, so I always feel like she's not gonna let me down. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, so I'm going into this cautiously optimistic. If it's terrible, or if it's bad, or if it's just okay, I can easily dismiss it and move on with my life and be okay, right? Like, right? I can do this, right? It's not gonna ruin my childhood or anything. The next book is coming out on July 7th, and that is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I read my first Riley Sager over the summer and loved it. I read Lock Every Door, which is like the gothic mystery book about the girl who's set to apartment sit in a fancy secretive apartment building, and there's lots of rules that don't make sense, and then people start disappearing and she keeps hearing sounds, and it just gets more and more suspenseful. It was so good. It is definitely one of my favorite thrillers of the year. I gave it 4.5 stars, which is a very high rating for a thriller for me, and I can't wait to see what he's got coming out next. And then jumping all the way to November 17th, we have the 4th book in the Stormlight Archives. This is Brandon Sanderson's magnum opus, his epic series that is supposed to span over 10 books, and I can't even begin to come up with a synopsis for you other than it follows like 4 or 5 main characters in a very expansive world where magic is ruled by stormlight, which is like crystals that harness storm energy, and there's these massive storms that like have destroyed civilization, and everyone just lives in pockets and crags in the world, and there's different species and wars and like conniving politics, and it's just really complex and good. And if you're into that truly epic, huge scale fantasy, I'm sure you would like this book. I'm very excited for the 4th installment. And I'm really excited to learn the title because we don't know it yet. And last but not least, coming out on November 19th, we have The Burning God, which is the final book in the Poppy Wars trilogy. It is a book that follows a teenage character named Rin. Now, it is an adult fantasy, but it follows a teenage character. Basically, as she grows and goes to a military school and like finds these gods and these powers, it's inspired by Chinese history and Chinese wars and like Chinese traumas and stuff that happened. It's good. It's a solidly good series. It amazes me how smart R.F. Kuang is, how witty she is. Her plot twists are phenomenal, and she really knows her war and battle tactic type stuff, which is not something I'm into. This series does fall a little bit more on the military fantasy side of fantasy, which I'm not the biggest fan of. However, there is enough other things going on that can keep you intrigued, i.e. the super dark main character arc. I love when main characters just get filthy, man. When they just pillage and plunder and murder, but they still have that little shred of empathy that makes you like root for them. And especially when they're like a woman, man, I love it. I stan all of the super angry gals out there. And that was all 12 of my most anticipated releases coming out next year. Let me know down in the comments below what your most anticipated read of the year is, what your favorite book of the year is. I'm always looking for more recommendations, so hit me up, system. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like booktube content, make sure to give me a thumbs up so I know to make more bookish related materials, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!